again. Yep. So today we are going to have 5 learning objectives. The first 2 will be about nature of ethics and also the accounting body's code of ethics. And the number 3 would be about the decision-making techniques in ethics. So those first 3 would be about the keywords ethics. Before we jump into the lecture slides, do you know what is a code of ethics for Australian accounting profession? What is a code of ethics for Australian accountants, for Australian auditors?
APS 110.
APS 110. So that's the most important documents we are going to discuss today for the whole lecture. And also in number 4, auditors' independence, and also some special requirements regarding fee determinations. Those are also the clause and rules actually we just borrowed from APS 110. And some of them may also be referred in the Corporations Act as well. So I guess today a lot of examples. Maybe for some of the examples, it's not that clear to everyone, but we try to make it easy to understand, and also easy to be memorized, okay? So objective 1 would be about professional ethics. What is ethics? What is the definition for ethics, please? Right. So what is ethics? Basically, ethics are concerned with the requirements for the general well-being, prosperity, health, and happiness of people. That is a set of moral rules which focus on what is right, what is wrong. So what is right or what is wrong? It seems to be very important for our daily life and especially your professional life, right? Because we want to do the right thing. But from our human beings' perspective, do you think your understanding to right or wrong is the same upon everyone?
No.
No, not really. Okay. So I guess, for example, at home, so my understanding to housework and my attitude to housework is very different from my husband, right? So sometimes I think I have done enough, but he said, no, you haven't. Of course, sometimes I also think the same upon him. So right or wrong is very, very different for people at different background, different gender, different culture, different thinking, different position. Like in the workplace, so as an employee, let's use the most recent example, okay? So due to the COVID-19, there is a budget cut at many workplaces. So apparently, in terms of budget cut, employer and employees' attitude to that will be different. So what is right or wrong in terms of budget cut is also very, very different, right? So in terms of ethics, there's no absolute right or wrong. Really depends on different people's opinion, different background, different standards, and it's very personal, actually. It's very hard to make a judgment about ethics. So we provide 3 series here. The first one, that is teleological ethics. If we understand that simply, that is understanding the ethics based on consequence or based on the outcome. Generally, if the outcome is good, if the benefit outweigh the cost, you can say from the teleological ethics point of view, this behavior is ethical. Second, deontological ethics, which is based on duties and rights, based on rules. So if the person follow all the rules, then the person should be ethical if we use the deontological view of ethics. The third one, virtue ethics, based on personal quality, personal attributes. So if the person is a good person, the person is ethical. If the person is integral, if the person is honest, if the person is on good faith, so he or she would be ethical. Which one you vote for? Which one you prefer? No argument? Right, so yeah. So it seems someone choose deontological based on duties and rights. So if we follow all the rules, we are ethical. But in different situations, the rules could be different. Is that right? And some deficient rules, deficient standards sometimes leads to problems, leads to bad outcome. So if we are using the deontological definition of ethics, it seems we could be quite biased, and also sometimes we will be behind because yearly duties, rules are set and just maybe wouldn't keep up with the situation. One example, wearing the mask, the face mask. So probably a few months ago, is not the common sense to wear the mask, but now in different places, wearing mask, the face mask has been the rules. So it seems some of the rules are not keep up to the date. So Jack, would you always agree with deontological? Yeah, so let's see some auditing situations. Okay, so auditors, because the auditors are more experienced and more skillful. So auditors now have seen the clients couldn't prepare a good financial statement. They couldn't even do the proper journal entry. So they just help their clients to start from journal entry and preparing the financial statement and then do the audit. Out of good faith. And also now the financial report is of high quality, so good outcome. Is this ethical? Not really, because from the deontological point of view, it seems they break up the rules. And why the rules is there? So the rule is auditors are not supposed to prepare financial statement or make management decision for the clients. Once this rule is broken, it seems auditors might not be independent. They tend to do the self-review on themselves. So from the deontological point of view, this behavior is not ethical. Any further arguments? Do you have more examples? Let's take another example here. Are you still following?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, let's take another example. Okay, so still now we are in COVID-19 period. So a lot of business are at risk. As an auditor, I'm so sympathetic to all the companies. So I know I'm going to do the audit for a small business. I know it's going to bankrupt. It's very highly likely to be bankrupt. But I'm so sympathetic to them. I know if I issue a going concern report, they will be even more high, they will get higher risk. So this time, I just reserve my opinion and I just say, no problem with this company. I didn't issue a qualified going concern report on this company. So it seems I'm a good person. I'm very sympathetic to human being, to the well-being of others. But am I ethical? No, of course not, because I didn't follow didn't perform based on my duties and rights. I didn't follow the rules, didn't follow auditing standards. The consequence of my sympathy to the company is I may be detrimental to the capital market, to the other shareholders, right? So ethical issue here is quite complex. From different series point of view, your conclusion could be different. So in the accounting discipline, what is ethics or not is really important for us because actually the accounting profession is based on public trust. Without any public trust, you wouldn't get demand for the accounting, you wouldn't get demand for auditing. So ethics would be the cornerstone for the accounting profession. And we really need to be ethical enough to ensure the market is confident about the work we perform. They will be confident there's no serious conflict of interest between us and the management. So for the professional accountants, here we just list the fiduciary relationship of duties of the professional accountants. It's like you need to display the behavior that expose responsible value. You should pay continuous attention to requirements of clients and stakeholders. You need to acquire and maintain required skills and knowledge. You need to maintain a credible reputation for the profession. Also, you need to maintain acceptable personal reputation. Overall, we think, so as to be a professional person, to be a professional accountant, all of us need to put the public interest ahead of our self-interest when you work in your role. So I think we don't really need a lot of explanation, but we need to emphasize again and again in our daily life. Once you take the accounting role, you know, actually the public interest should be ahead of your self-interest. I guess no more question. Any question here about ethics? Okay, so in terms of ethics, as we discussed before, APS 110 would be the accounting code of ethics. So here, actually, today in the topic, we are going to discuss ethics, auditor independence, ethical principles, threats to auditor independence, etc., etc. All of them are from APS 110. So what is APS 110? It is the code of conduct which was written by APESB. So what is APESB? That is Australian Professional and Ethical Standard Boards, which established in 2006, and which is a dependent ethical standard board. That's the corporations of CA, CPA, and also IPA. It has different types of standards, including APS 110, and also they have dropped other standards about ethics or professional behaviors. And if you are not complying with the requirement from APS 110, you might be taken to discipline actions by CALDB, the company's Auditors and Liquidation Disciplinary Board. Or otherwise, you might be taken disciplinary proceedings by your professional bodies if you are a member of them. So, Chris, if you go to the slides, you could go to the Australian Professional APESB's website, and then you could read a lot of information about this organization. Today I'm not going to show you. Oh yeah, it's here actually. Yeah, so this is the page I just copied from their website. There seems to be very close relationship between APSB and the three accounting professional bodies. The three professional bodies are the members and also the founders of APESB. And APESB actually play the role as one of the ethical safeguard for the professional bodies and the members. In addition to that, APS 110 also have legislative authority over peoples in the profession. I'm going to switch that actually. So why do you think APS 110 could have legal enforcement? Does APS 110 have legal enforcement or not?
I don't think so, no.
No. So APES 110 has been, just give you a few more information here. So AUASB standards, do you know what are they? Auditing standards. So AUSB has issued the auditing standards, which has been used as legislative instruments under the Corporations Act. So for audits and reviews under the Corporations Act, AUSB standards have legal enforcement. So one more clue here is APES 110 is also referred by Auditing Standards 205. Now, do you think APS 110 also have legal enforcement or not?
Yes.
Okay, so at least for audits and assurance under the Corporations Act, APS 110 also has a legal enforcement equivalent to auditing standards. And also, in some clause in the Corporations Act, they also refer to APS 110 regarding the professional behaviors of the accounting professionals. Okay. So what should be the appropriate virtues of an auditor? As we mentioned before, so should follow the act upon the public interest, putting the public interest ahead of your self-interest. So you actually play your role for the collective well-being of the community. It's just very conceptual, I think, but we know actually, so for, at least for the auditors, you shouldn't be of self-interest in your workplace. It is hard, right? Because we are human beings. Usually, when we come across something, we often think about ourselves. If that's the fact of human being, then it seems conflict of interest would often come up in different places. That's why these APS 110 or understanding ethics and independence would be so important for us, because we need to understand the role and then try to avoid the potential problems. So have a look of the ethical principles. As required in APS 110, they put up 5 fundamental ethical principles for all the professional accountants, including the auditors. What are they? Integrity, objectivity, professional competence and due care, confidentiality, professional behavior. Are you familiar with all of them? So first, integrity. Integrity means play your role in a straightforward and honest way. So you are not going to lie to your clients, lie to your colleagues. You wouldn't exaggerate your scale, your experience. Basically, when you perform your role, you should be honest enough. Second, are you still there? Hello?
Yes.
Yeah. Second, objectivity. Official definition of objectivity seems to be no bias. So not to be biased or undue influenced by others. Not override a professional judgment. So just by definition, objectivity seems to be quite simple, but try to be objective as a person sometimes will be really hard for us, right? As an auditor, so you try to be objective. But I guess if you sit with your clients for a few years, both of you have become friends. Can you guarantee you are still objective? Maybe not. As an auditor, sometimes we are affected by personal circumstances. You're in good mood. Probably you are in a bad mood at the day. Can you guarantee you always perform your work in a very, very objective way? Maybe not. Let's say, okay, your financial status could also be different. So now you really want this work. So you have no client before. Now, company ABC would be your first client and gave you a lot of audit fees. To get this client, can you ensure you could be objective enough in the work? If you found some problem in their financial statement, can you guarantee you report honestly? Maybe not. So it seems integrity and objectivity would be easy to say, but very hard to achieve. So integrity and objectivity are also the biggest problems from the ethical principles that link to auditor independence, right? Number 3, competence and due care. Auditors should be competent enough, but at what level an auditor can say, I'm competent? It seems the professional knowledge and skills should be demonstrated by solid evidence, right? Like your qualification, your degree, your demonstrated experience. Due care. So auditors, so accountants need to act diligently in accordance with technical and professional standards. So due care, the word itself is subjective enough because you don't know what level is up to due care, what level is not enough. So for the audit profession, how hard your work can constitute the work with due care is also a question for us. Is that right? Number 4, confidentiality. So you couldn't disclose the client's confidential information to others, especially for your self-interest or for somebody else's self-interest. But there will be a problem there. That is, so we know there is a whistleblowing rule, right? So if you know somebody did something really bad, especially so from your professional's point of view, you'd better report to the authority. Are there any potential conflicts between confidentiality and your disclosing responsibility? So confidentiality sometimes would also be arguable. Number 5, professional behavior. That has been defined as obligation to comply with relevant laws, regulations, and also avoid the action that may discredit the profession. So follow the rules, follow the law, follow regulation, follow the standards would be the fundamental thing for professional behavior. Beyond that, you shouldn't perform any activity to discredit the profession, discredit your competitor, discredit the other professionals. So professional behavior contains a lot of contents here. So would you be able to provide at least one audit example for each of the 5 ethical principles, please? That's a question for you after the class. So for good understanding to the 5 ethical principles, I believe, so you need to provide at least one example for you to better understand those 5 ethical principles. I just put them here. These are the example I put, but I would suggest you put up your own examples for each of the 5 ethical principles. Please do this after the class. Any question? One thing I want to, any question, please? Okay, but one thing I want to raise your attention here is about the confidentiality rules. As we mentioned before, confidentiality means do not disclose the confidential information of your clients to somebody else, to other person, or to other business. especially not to do that out of your self-interest or for the benefit, for the self-interest of other persons. And we also mentioned there might be a dilemma between the confidentiality rules and also the reporting rules of professionals. So that's why in the APES 110, in their 2017 and 18 edition, they put in one more special clause regarding responding to non-compliance with laws and regulations. Sorry? Hi, hello. So we use no clear for us to memorize this clause, no clear. What is no clear? So that is, auditors need to consider the reporting obligations if they uncover any suspect any illegal action, for example, fraud, corruption, bribery, or money laundering during the course of their professional work. Once they realize there are something illegal, they should report to the authority. They should do that based on the no clear clause. But also because we do have the APS 110 confidentiality principle here. So our suggestion is, as an auditor, when you try to report that to the authority, you'd better first consult with legal advices. Because the boundary between the confidentiality and your reporting obligation sometimes could be quite not clear, right? So it's better to get legal advice before you report externally. However, we do have the rights to report to the authority if you suspect any illegal actions during your audit. Okay. So I guess now a lot of us have got bored. So have a look at this example. Gary, yeah, he is one of us. He's undertaking the part-time university study. He is also the auditor. So while auditing the book of the health club, he discovered some of the financial and management information can help him doing his university assignment. So he copied the information, used them in the assignment, but he has carefully removed all the references to name to preserve the client's confidentiality. So, do you think Gary has done anything wrong in terms of those ethical principles? What is that? If you are Gary, what would you do? So Jack replied, so there is a potential breach of confidentiality because he's using the client's confidential information into his university work. Apparently it is out of self-interest, right? So it's also linked to the integrity issue. Do you agree? We also note, actually, he has already removed all references to the name of the club. He has already considered client's confidentiality. Is this enough? Also the professional behavior as well. So I guess it is an interesting case, of course. So what is the proper professional behavior in such situation?
Maybe you should have consulted with the Keep Fit Health Club first. Maybe ask them for the permission.
So at least he need to get permission from the club, from the clients. So is this enough? Yes. So integrity, confidentiality, and also professional behavior could be the problem. Now he get permission from the client, and also Ghana replied, also he needs permission from the employer. What else he could do? Maybe I think as an auditor, the audit firm should have those requirements, the rules regarding using the materials from the clients outside or out of the engagement. So it seems the company, the audit firm need to have such requirements and rules, right? But of course, in this case, ethical problems for Gary would be about confidentiality, about integrity, and also maybe also about professional behavior as well. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the ethical decision making. I think it is very simple. After that, we are going to have a break. So before we get into that, I just want to know your evaluation to the ethical problems. Do you think if you come across ethical problems, is it easy for you to do the decision, or it's not easy for you to make a proper decision? I heard someone actually, Chris, we are going to move to cases if we go to the ethical or audit independence issues. And I tend to get the answer from some students. Once it is about ethics or auditor independence, they usually take the answer, reject the engagement, refuse these clients. So if you always say no, of course, you are always correct, right? You do nothing, and then you could always, you wouldn't make any mistake. But thinking about this profession, thinking about yourself, of course, thinking about your employer, of course, you couldn't always say no to all the engagement, to all the clients. So that's why it's not very easy for us to make ethical decisions. So here we just recommend the AAA's model for us to look at the complex ethical issues. Actually, this model is very, very simple. We are not going to extend that to large cases, but we want to mention that. So maybe for your knowledge. So the first step is determine the fact. That means you know what happened. Second step, determine the ethical issue. You know what could be the potential ethical problems here in the fact. The third one is identify the major principles, rules, and values. So what are the key ethical issues in the fact? which could be the potential principles you need to follow, what could be the potential issues, the independence issues or ethical dilemmas actually you face. So you need to be able to identify them. The fourth step, specify the alternatives. So if we say the first three steps are about, really depends on your own business experience and also your understanding to the ethical rules. And number four would introduce a lot of professional judgment here. And also, so you need to be open-minded to think about a lot of alternative options. Number five, compare values and alternatives. So analysis is important here. Assess the consequence. So based on the benefit and the cost, finally you can make the decision. This model seems to be very conceptual, but if you can follow that properly, at least two of the ethical theories have been addressed. The deontological and the teleological, right? But in this model, we don't really think too much about personal attributes here. So I wouldn't make further comments about this model, but I think so in the case analysis and also in your daily life, it's good for you to apply this model in your ethical issue analysis to make the ethical decision. Okay, so let's take a 5 minutes break and then we come back at 7 to start the next two parts. Thank you and see you at 7 o'clock.